Cabbage soup might get a bad rap for being diet food, but let me tell you, if you make it the right way, it is pure comfort food. This one is hearty and flavorful, yet light at the same time. It has a savory seasoned broth, tender ground beef, and plenty of fresh veggies. It's comfort in a bowl. Hi everyone, it's Maya from WholesomeYum.com, and I make easy, healthy recipes with 10 ingredients or less. So today I'm showing you how to make cabbage soup with ground beef. I'm making this cabbage soup in the crock pot, but you can make it in an Instant Pot as well, and I'll show you how to do that at the end. No matter which method you choose, it could not be easier. We're using simple ingredients you can find at any grocery store, and the prep time takes just 15 to 20 minutes. Let's do this. Because I have a shortcut I'm going to tell you about later, the only thing you're going to have to chop for this recipe is a large onion. So I'll show you the method I like to use for dicing onions so that the pieces all come out the same size. I chop off the ends first and peel it, nothing unusual here, and then I'm going to slice it in half, and this is where it gets a little bit different from the usual method. Instead of cutting up and down, I'm going to cut radially, so kind of sideways first, and then just slowly transitioning to cutting vertically, and then back to sideways on the other side. Once you have those slices, you can just cut straight up and down in the opposite direction. And you can see the pieces are all the same size instead of having larger pieces on the ends. And now I'm going to saute those onions because it's going to give the cabbage soup so much flavor. So go ahead and heat up a tablespoon of olive oil over medium heat and just make sure it gets nice and hot before you add the onions. Now, if you really want to, you can just add the onions directly to the crock pot, but we're going to need to brown the ground beef anyway, so we might as well saute the onions. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes. You can cook the onions to your liking, but I like them brown to about this level. Now we can add 1 pound of ground beef. You can also use ground turkey here, or ground chicken, sausage, really any ground meat, but I like ground beef on my cabbage soup. And add 1 teaspoon of sea salt. That is my formula for meat, always, all the time. 1 teaspoon of salt per pound of meat. And 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. You can add more if you like this spicy. Stir that together, and I am going to increase the heat to medium-high here and continue cooking this. Now I'm going to combine everything in the crock pot and let this thing do the work. So we'll add the ground beef mixture and the onions. And we need 1 pound of cabbage, but here's my shortcut. I'm using a bag of coleslaw mix instead of cutting this myself. If you want to, you can chop the cabbage yourself though. And a 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Make sure you leave the liquid in there. We do want that in the soup as well for flavor. And I am using 6 cups of beef bone broth, but if you like, you can also use regular beef broth or really any broth. Chicken broth will work, vegetable broth, totally up to you. The bone broth does add some nice nutritional value though. Some simple seasonings, 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I have a recipe for this, I'll link down below for you, but obviously you can just use store-bought too. And 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. Feel free to add more of this if you love garlic. I often do add more. And we'll stir this all together. Last step before I cook this, I'm going to add 2 bay leaves just on the middle here, kind of on the surface. We're not going to want to eat these, so we want them towards the top so we can remove them easily. Now we can put on the lid and leave this to cook on high for about 2 to 3 hours, though you can do longer on low if you prefer. It'll be about double the time if you do low. The slow cooker just did almost all the work. I'm pretty happy about that. So let's see what this looks like. That smells so good already. So now we just need to remove the bay leaves. I have these little kitchen tweezers here. These are actually for food styling, but they're pretty convenient for some other kitchen uses too. I'll link them for you below if you're interested. All right, I'm gonna pour myself a bowl here. Flavorful, beefy, tender cabbage. This is comfort in a bowl. And this does freeze very well too, so don't worry if you can't finish the whole big batch. So I promised Instant Pot instructions for you, and they are going to be very similar. I don't have my Instant Pot on hand here, but it's so simple, it's not really that different from the Crock Pot version. You're gonna saute the onions and the ground beef using the saute function of the Instant Pot. Then add the remaining ingredients, cover, and pressure cook for 20 minutes. Let the pressure release naturally for 5 minutes, and after that you can use the quick release and you're done. Let me know what you think of this beef cabbage soup if you make it. And for another comforting one to warm you up on cold nights, try this 5-ingredient broccoli cheese soup.